Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another session of Suppressive Cooking. Now, before we actually start with the cooking, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the background of what we're about to do. Now, I worked for Scientology in the Sea from 2005 until 2012, which is when I left. And from 2008 until 2012, I actually worked at the stables, which is where the staff canteen is, where the galley or the kitchen is, and where the staff food was made and served, and so on and so forth. And during that time, I worked first in the canteen, and then afterwards, I worked in the kitchen. Sure, during my time in the canteen, I did help out a little bit in the kitchen. I was doing mainly the washing up, I was cleaning the dining rooms, and so on and so forth. But it was a little bit later when I actually went into the kitchen and started working in the kitchen. And as I said, I joined in 2008 the actual SEOC because before I was in the catalog. And when I was there, we had always a problem, which was that people didn't vote properly. So there was a voting system to determine the statistic of the cook. So in Scientology, statistics are very important, and they get counted every week. And if your statistic is up, so in other words, you have done more production, you have more points this week than the week before, then it means you're upstat. And it doesn't matter if you overall are doing better or not. What I mean by that is, let's say you are in the month of May, and in the month of March, let's say, an average, you did 20 points, whatever your point system is. 20 points a week is your average in say, March, and now you're in May, and now in May, your average amount of points that you've made are, let's say, 50. So it is much more. However, that is completely not taken into consideration because they always take it week to week, 1 week on the other week. So if 1 week you have, let's say, 48 points, and in the week after you only have 46, you're considered downstat, and you will be punished for it, even though you are much more upstat compared to the previous 2 months. So that is Scientology for you. Make it make sense. In any case, while I was there, the statistic for the cook was the voting sheet. So people would vote for the food that they got, the food and the service, and you could vote -7 up to +7. And that is how the cook would count the vote. Now, naturally, people couldn't be bothered to write it all down because they had half an hour time to eat lunch, and coming down from the castle, walking all the way down to the stables to go and eat there, takes about 5 minutes. So there and back, 10 minutes. So you only have 20 minutes. Then you have to stand in line to actually get your food. Then maybe after you've eaten, you want to go to the canteen, get yourself a coffee or whatever. So in the end, you have maybe 10, 15 minutes to actually eat. And so most people just didn't bother to fill out the form. And so the statistic were doing okay, but then we're not going as well as they could because most of the people just didn't even vote, or maybe they voted one day, but the voting sheet was there for every single day, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when I moved into the kitchen and I started working into the kitchen, I had an idea. I don't know where this idea came from. I just thought to myself, well, you have to motivate them. You have to get them somehow to come and vote for it. And what I did is I made huge cookies. I made large cookies, and I always made 2 kinds. I always made one that was obviously unhealthy, like with chocolate chips or something, and then the other one I made maybe with nuts in it, with raisins, things like that, because I thought, well, we have different generations, and maybe the older generation, they would like to have something a little healthier rather than the one with chocolate chips. And for some reason, the week in Scientology ends on Thursday, 2 p.m. And so on Wednesday evening, for Wednesday dinner, I hung up a huge banner a banner. I just took normal sheets of paper, and on each one I wrote a letter, and then basically wrote, show me that you voted, and you will get a cookie. And I basically bribed them to vote. And that, the statistic was a complete boom. It went up through the roof because suddenly everyone pretty much voted, right? And there was such a success that it was decided, well, I need to do this obviously every single week. And so I did it every single week, and the stats went just up, and I had highest ever after highest ever being, well, literally what it says in the name, the highest amount of points to ever have been achieved. I don't know if ever since beginning of recording, or if it sort of caps off every 5 or 10 years or anything like that. I don't know what the policy is on that, but yeah, I got highest ever after highest ever, and so that is how it started. And I actually talk about this more in detail in an interview that I did with Jeff from the channel BTS for Life. So here's a little clip of that.
So I don't know if we came up with it or if I came up with it, but anyway, I thought to myself, we need to bribe them. We need to do something to bribe them to write down their statistics, right? Somehow. So I decided on Wednesday, because on Thursday is the end of the week in Scientology. Thursday, 2 p.m., for whatever reason, is the end of the week. And so I baked cookies. So I baked large cookies, and I always made two types of cookies. I always made one that was, I mean, they both were unhealthy, but one was like obviously unhealthy, like it was a chocolate chip cookie or whatever, one of these sort of thing, or with caramel bits in it. And the other one would be a little bit more healthy, like with nuts or with oats or something like that. Because I thought, obviously, the younger people, they want to have the chocolatey one, and maybe people who are a little bit older, who are a bit more aware of health and things like that, they would want to have the one with oats. So everybody would be pleased. And I made a big sign saying, if you want to have a free cookie, show us your voting sheet with your name, and then you fill that out, and then you get a cookie. And when I did that, the statistic completely exploded. I mean, I don't know the numbers anymore, but it was the equal of, before we were at 4,000 a week, and now suddenly it was like 10,000. Like it was more than double.
So I do hope you found that rather interesting. Now, before we begin, I would like to introduce a very special book to you, which is this book called Mary Berry's Ultimate Cake Book, over 200 classic recipes. This is the very first cookbook that I ever bought for myself. Now, I did the EPF in 2008 and then joined the SEOG. And this book I bought, and I actually can tell you exactly when I bought it. I bought it on January the 3rd, 2009. So it was just shortly after I had actually finished the EPF. And then after a few weeks of having some pay, I was able to buy this book. And this book has been with me ever since. And it has been through the mill, okay? It is yellowed, it is frayed, it has all sorts of stains on most pages. And I would say I probably have done about 70%, maybe even more, of the recipes, and all of them work most marvelously. Now, you know how some people talk about their queen, like, oh, Oprah is my queen, or Lady Gaga, or Donald Trump is their queen. Well, my queen is Mary Berry. I mean, she's been at it for about 120 years or so, but she doesn't look a day over 100. And she's absolutely marvelous. I absolutely adore Mary Berry, and her recipes are most excellent. And this recipe with these cookies is actually from this very cookbook. It is called Mega Chocolate Chip Cookies. And it does say makes about 24 biscuits, but we're going to make them a little larger. So we're going to do about 18 to 20. So these are the ingredients that you will need. 175 grams or 6 ounces of soft margarine. 225 grams or 8 ounces of caster sugar. 2 medium eggs. 350 grams or 12 ounces of either self-raising flour, or if you do not have self-raising flour, take 350 grams of regular flour and add half a teaspoon of baking powder. Then, because we are going to make two different kinds of cookies, one of those healthier ones and one of those not quite so healthy ones, we will need 50 grams or about 2 ounces of chocolate chips. We will need 20 grams or about 1 ounce of oats, and 30 grams or about 1.5 ounces of walnuts. And last but most importantly, a sprinkle of suppression, naturally. Additionally to that, you will need 2 bowls. You will need a sieve. You will need a weighing scale, a conventional food mixer, and a baking tray with a baking sheet. So, and without any further ado, let me put on my proper VSP chef hat, and let's get baked. Darlings, unfortunately, I continued doing the recipe without realizing it wasn't recording. So, but don't worry, you didn't miss a lot. I was just telling you guys that this is a recipe which is called an all-in-one recipe, meaning you put all the ingredients together. And that is exactly what I did, apart from the chocolate chips, the oats, and the walnuts, because we want to do the basic recipe first, then we'll divide it into 2 equal parts, and then one we'll add the chocolate chips, and the other one we're going to add the oats and the nuts to them. So what I did here, I added the margarine, I added the sugar, I added the eggs, and then the flour. Now what I did with the flour, I actually put it through a sieve. That's why we needed it. Now there are 2 reasons why you would put flour through the sieve. For one is to make sure there are no lumps in there. Now if you bought the flour rather recently, there's probably not going to have any lumps in there. However, if you had the flour for some time, there's some humidity in the kitchen, and so naturally sometimes there might be some lumps in there. So this will loosen out the lumps, and additional to that, it will make the whole all of the flour very light, very fluffy, and it will help mix into the mixture much more easily. So there it is, all in a bowl, and now we're just going to mix it. Okay, you know what? This is gonna be a mess. I'm gonna put all of this in a larger pot. You know, sometimes these sort of things do happen in the kitchen where you don't have the right bowl. So here I have a pot in which I will mix it, but don't worry about it, because after all, once your friends and guests will try your cookies, you will certainly have their vote. Alright, so here we are. Here's the mass. It's fairly dry. It is a little wet to the touch, which is excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up into the bowl again, put on the weighing scale to see how much it is, divide it by 2, and then add the 2 additional final ingredients. Okay, so I have about 800 grams of the total weight, and now I've divided it 400 to 400 grams. I'm gonna write up here how much that is in ounces. Okay, so now we're gonna add our chocolate chips. Now you can buy chocolate chips as they are. You can buy chocolate drops and things like that. Now, because I do want to keep my Swiss passport, naturally I have always a supply of chocolate at home. So I just took a chocolate bar, I just chopped it up roughly, and that's what we see now here. And I'm just gonna add that here, and then mix that into it. You don't have to take the machine for that again. You can just do it like this, either with your hand if you want to, or like me, I just took a spoon and I just add that like that to it. Excellent. And now we're gonna take the other one and we'll add the healthier version of this cookie, the ingredients. So here we have the oats and we have the walnuts. Alright, so that's that. Now we have our 2 different cookie doughs, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to weigh each one because I like them to be all exactly the same size. So I'm going to start with the oats and nut one. So I have now about 450 grams on here, and I want to make 10 cookies out of that, so I'll just divide that by 10. So that gives me about 45 grams per each cookie. I'm going to put up here again how much that would be about in ounces. Alright, so now before we actually shape the cookies, do make sure your oven is on. It is preheated at 180 degrees Celsius or about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, so at this stage I'm going to continue with my hands because I don't have to touch anything else, so nothing else is going to get dirty now. Otherwise you have to wash your hands every single time. That gets rather annoying. So again, we're going to do now each cookie about 45 grams in weight. That's the weighing scale. Excellent. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna form a little ball, put it on the tray, and then just press down lightly. There we are. Continue with the next one. Make sure you put enough space in between them so they don't touch each other when they bake. So I'm going to do now 5 on the one side and 5 of the other ones on this side, and then I'll just bake it again because I only have one tray. So here we are. Now we've got 5 of the chocolate chip ones, and we've got 5 of the oat and hazelnut ones. By the way, you can of course change the chocolate chips. I've used here now dark chocolate, but you can use milk chocolate, you can use white chocolate, or even take all 3 of them and put them in the dough. So we're going to put these now in the oven and bake them for 15 to 20 minutes. So after 15 minutes, I will take them out and check them, and I will show you what you need to look out for to make sure that they're ready. Alright, so here they are after 15 minutes. Now visually they look already very good. They are golden brown, which is the way we want them to be. And very much like with tiramisu, we do not want a soggy bottom. So a very old trick is just take a knife, go under it, and see if it slides easily like this, you know it's done. Let's flip it around, let's have a look. Oh yes, that's fine, very nice color. Let's have a look at one of the other ones. Yes, excellent. So that's already done. After 50 minutes, they're already wonderfully done. So I'm going to let them cool down, and then we'll have a look at them more closely once they've cooled down. So now the cookies have had some time to cool down. So now if we take one of the cookies and we break them in half, we can see, hope you can see, it is nicely baked through, and it's very soft. It is very moist. Let's have a look at the other one. Yeah, excellent. So this is the other one. This one is the one with oats and the walnuts. Excellent. I do like the smell of baked nuts. Excellent. Well, this is your tutorial of making these cookies that I used to persuade the most ethical group in the universe to vote so that I have good statistics. Anyway, I do hope you found this rather interesting, entertaining, maybe even educational. Do let me know down in the comment section if you have any other suggestions, if you have any questions about this particular recipe, and of course if you have actually tried them out, and let me know what is your results. Thank you for watching. Do give this a thumbs up, considering subscribing. I hope you have a most excellent and marvelous day, and goodbye.